thank you all for coming. So it's 10 a.m. here, it's 6 p.m. there, but we've got some early birds here, as I can see. But I'm Jill, and I'm the in-house curator of a show that was organized by the Ralph Steadman collection, Sadie and Ralph being responsible for this, and Andrea, who you met last week or the week before, who's helped with traveling the show and speaking on its behalf as well. So I met Ralph in San Francisco. That was a great opening. That was really wonderful. And I'm glad you got home okay, Sadie. If this ends before 11 when the museum opens, and I'm sure you all want to go back up and see the Steadman show again after today, then you can mill about in the lobby and look at all the merch that goes with the show. But at 11 o'clock, you can go up to the galleries. You can also get a program that has all the other events, both at the library and the museum, that are part of this program, which are pretty cool. I want to ask John Weber just to stand up so you see what our new director looks like. If you haven't met him yet, do. Thank you. And I am going to...
Can I introduce Shannon as well, who's on...
Oh, hi, Shannon. All right. And I want...
Here's our little cute little guy we know. Rumplestiltskin.
I like the upside down flag too. So I want to introduce Paul Peppis, who's going to be our host and facilitator for today. And Paul is a professor of English, but also the director of the Oregon Humanities Center and a member of our leadership council. So we work a lot together and have a lot of fun, and I have great admiration for you.
I have great admiration for you too. Thank you guys for joining us. This is really generous of you.
Okay.
Since you showed us Rumplestiltskin, tell us a little bit about that piece.
Well, it was never used. I did it and nobody quite understood it. And some people had never even heard of Rumplestiltskin. Wasn't he? Nobody knew his name. And he used to. I think.
Stole children, didn't he?
Yes, he tried to. He didn't kill children.
He stole them.
He stole them. And it was just a funny son. I suddenly thought Rumplestiltskin. Yes, that's an idea, and it was never used. And it's got a nice little front on his underpants, kind of a flag.
It's perfect.
And this is a drivel driver, which is. I don't know. I think he turned out worse than we thought he would. I think when he first came on the scene.
I think you're right.
I think I thought Nixon was bad, but at least Nixon was a proper politician.
So what about your guy? What about Boris?
I'm afraid he's even worse. If you want to see him, he's there. And it goes well with that, doesn't it? You know, they go together. Here he is.
Oh, there he is.
How's that? Will that do?
That will do. Ralph, tell us about what's down there, where his tie is. What's going on down there? Down by his collar. Down by his collar.
Oh, that is starving children as a necktie. And don't ask me why I did that, but it was something that seemed to fit somehow. Because he doesn't really understand anything other than having had a charmed life, and it's like his father's a little like him actually, and which I suppose is quite understandable. And my father's my father's nothing like me. I'm much more like my mother, and I wonder about Trump. I wonder what his mother was like. I never really thought about it until now. I might go looking for a picture of her. Trump's mother. Yes.
So you say Boris had a charmed life. You kind of had a charmed life.
No, it's been hard.
Has it?
Oh God, hard. It's been hard. I met a weird, crazy guy in Kentucky in 1970. And he took one look at me and he said, "They said you're weird, but not that weird." I said, what do you mean? He said, "Well, what's that funny growth on the head of your chin?" And with a little beard, you know. And I said, "Oh." And then,
There he is.
oh, that's this man. Yeah, there he is.
There he is.
Oh, my God, I must have missed it. It's hell down here. That's where he is.
That's where he is.
And then he said, and this is what, and somebody, one of you may know what this is. He described me as a matted-haired geek with string warts.
What are string warts?
Well, that's what I'm asking. I mean,
Anybody
I'm
know?
not that smart. So that's exactly what he called me, a matted-haired geek with string warts. They said you were weird, but not that weird.
So how did you get
They said
along
you were
with him?
weird, but not that weird. That's how it went.
He was weirder than you.
I think he was. I was the sort of quiet one, and the sensible one, if you like. And but we got on well in a funny sort of way because we were so different. And yeah, we're driving together with his car, and he used to smoke these things. And I just used to get petrified, you know.
But why?
In his company, you know. And yet I'd go back because I felt that of all the people I should meet in America, it's Hunter S. Thompson. And it turned out to be that. And he became a character. And it was a man called Cardoza, who lived in Sausalito, who came up with the first, when he saw the article and the drawings for the Kentucky Derby, he said to Hunter, "Holy God, this is pure Gonzo." And Hunter said, "Gonzo? What the fuck's Gonzo?" And apparently Gonzo is a Portuguese word, and it means, what does it mean?
It means hinge.
Here, that's right. Couldn't think of the name. It means hinge in Portuguese.
And it actually does.
And it does mean that. And I think it's got to do with something like unhinged. You know, somebody's unhinged, a little bit off the wall. So it's something we're going to do now is show you around the studio.
Oh,
if that's any good to you.
Please do.
You know, like on the wall, all the mess on the wall here. If you can turn that round. There's a Gonzo there. There's Picasso there, and there's Hunter there. Look in the blots. Good. Where he belongs. And here's a couple of drawings I've done today. No, I'm not being pornographic. They're for a play. Documentary, yes. About have you ever heard of the Pogues?
Sure.
Oh,
Absolutely.
Well, it's about the Pogues, actually. Because we got them all. I don't think that's one. Where are the one? Here's one. Oh yeah, there's one. Oh, there.
Shane McGowan.
One. Shane McGowan. It's a pleasant, nice picture of him. And then here and that's another one of them. Here we are. It's got to be crazy, you see. I mean, it's just.
Move on now.
Ralph, why don't you, can you tell us about the dirty water technique since you've used it there?
There's one more there. They're painting their hotel room. It's, I'd never heard of them before I did this. Anyway, here we go. And we can look at this on our way through. That's Hunter typing. And then here's a picture of Hunter, which I think you'll recognize. That's called a doctored Hunter S. Thompson drawing.
Go through to the back.
Yeah, we'll go to the back. And it's a strange place, but this is an outbuilding. And we can look at, all these are wood blocks, which I use in my work occasionally. And here are a few sculptures. That's called The Sentence. This one's called Saving Time. And this one's called Time to Release It. And what?
Okay.
Okay. And this here is my restored pot. I found the pieces in Cyprus and brought them home and reconstructed it. But I found suddenly it was, that I thought I'd got all the pieces and not one of them fit the other. So I called it Restored Pot. And I put a nice boat on top of it. It looks a bit like something from Treasure Island. So now we're going to go. Oh, up there is a bottle sculpture. There. And here is. Here's one of these. Here's one of Treasure Island, and it's a bit nasty actually in a way, but then it was a nasty story in it. Certainly. And here are a few American drawings. Now, there's Lyndon Johnson, yeah. This was, hopefully, that's Eisenhower, isn't it? That is Kennedy, yes. Can you see it?
You see?
Yes, yes.
And oh look, there's a picture of a peacock, and it's a peacock. It's a drawing of that is Ronald Reagan. Believe it or not, I'm trying to think who that is. Chenenko, yes, Reagan versus Chenenko. And I've forgotten all about Chenenko. Oh, here's a nice picture of Donald Trump as a Statue of Liberty takers.
Did you do
And
that
he's-
before he was elected?
What? No, I think it was.
It was after. I think it was after.
It was after he. No, it was after.
Was it after?
When he was doing his campaign, and I thought that I was hearing lots of things about his reputation, And so I figured that the American pants were a pair of knickers. And that, right, like that. And here's a picture I quite like. This is a dirty American swamp pet. And that's Trump made out of mess. Can you just see the head?
Yeah.
And look at how dirty the flag's got.
Can you tell us about the dirty water technique?
Yeah, that's in fact we smelt some today. It was so it's been in the jar for rather a long time. And I spilled some on the water on a
Let's go and have a look.
well, we'll go and have a look at it, actually.
Yeah, go and have a look.
We'll go and have a look at that while these are things. And we have to leave the doors open for an hour. It's so bad. But it's now taking on the smellier the water, the more beautiful the colours. Look at this. And that's still drying. And I'll draw into that and do something with it. I'm not sure what it'll be yet. So that's that, the dirty water technique. And it's a funny thing that the smellier the water, the more interesting the textures when it dries. It's a very odd scientific something. Somebody may know about that.
If you go and look at the bonobo in the exhibition, which is one of the endangered species ones, that's a really good example of the texture that the really dirty water takes on. So you can get up close and really have a look at that. And that is literally the water from the paintbrush jar that Dad washes his paintbrushes in. He just pours it onto dirty water, basically.
It makes it.
Sit down.
Sit down.
Paul has some questions for you.
Oh, they might have questions, or they might not. Right.
Say something about accident in your work.
Accident. Well, most of my drawings start as an accident. I think it's really quite a fascinating thing about drawing this way, is that I don't know what's. People say to me, well, look, I say, I never use pencil first. I go straight in with the pen. And people say, well, don't you make a mistake? And I said, there's no such thing as a mistake. A mistake's an opportunity to do something else. And that's why I do it. And also, not only something else, but something unexpectedly else. And it intrigues me then to know what the hell is coming out of this thing. It's a flat piece of paper, as a rule, and the image of whatever it is, unless I'm trying to be specific and draw someone, or like Rumplestiltskin or something of that kind, I just think that it's something more interesting about drawing. Apparently, the New York Times has stopped using cartoons, isn't that right?
Yeah, they don't have
I don't
cartoons.
know. Has anyone noticed?
Some more dirty water.
More dirty water, but I said, you're from Africa. He said, no, Sumatra. You're lying, I said. He said, that's right, I'm a lion. Then he roared with laughter, made a right mess. Wretched critters. It was all from the critter book, but I quite like the what can I say? The expression on his face. But that's a dirty water, one splat on the floor. And there we go.
How did you come to do the critter book?
This is my signature.
Tell us about that.
I start doing it in capital T, STEAD, and I used to I used to sign my cartoons Stead. My mother said, "But your name's Steadman. Are you ashamed of it?" And I said, "Oh no, Mum, not at all." She said, "Well, why don't you get your full name?" So All right, but I half-heartedly added the MAN. Is that my mother?
I don't know.
No.
Oh, no. That might be my father. Go on, then. Entertain me. Oh, there's a joke. I like these. Oh, these are nice. That's a nice one. Oh, that's Robert Louis Stevenson going off the rails. These are early. This is the size I used to do them.
So when are those from? The
It's,
60s,
the
early?
60s. Yeah. Let's look. Lady put trying on hats from crackers. Christmas crackers. Gosh, I haven't seen those for a while.
In those early works, you didn't use captions. Why
Pardon?
you did not use captions? Why not?
Well, what? I was drawing. I wasn't doing captions.
But your cartoons at the beginning.
No, but I write things instead. You know, like one day in last if I do a captions, one day in last September, as far as I remember, I was walking down the street with manly pride. My heart was all aflutter when I fell into the gutter and I found a pig alive by my side. My heart was all aflutter as I lay there in the gutter. And a lady passing by was heard to say, "You can tell the man who woozes by the company he chooses." And the blooming pig got up and walked away. That's a caption. So I quite like captions of that kind. But I don't know. Yes, I don't do captions, do I? That's quite an astute observation. And perhaps I'll start doing captions now. And I'll try and draw like one of the Victorian punch artists and do them. Oh, I know the one that I do like that I did it as a punch cartoon in an old-fashioned style, and then the gentleman, offended gentleman, to a man who has just perpetrated a histrionic effect around the table. "Damn it, man, you farted in front of my wife." "I do apologize, my dear chap," said the husband of the lady. "I didn't realize it was her turn." I quite like jokes of that kind, but I think that I just like the idea that the drawing has expressed what I want to say. I'm not really a cartoonist anymore, although I have done them that's how I started, for God's sake. But I really think that I prefer the drawing to be expressive and to do the thing and make my things happen. Let's see.
Can you tell us about what made you do the critter book?
The what?
The critter book?
Well, I was rung up by a man called Kerry Levy, who said, I'm Kerry Levy. I'm looking for someone to draw endangered animals for me. And the first, of course, yes, it was that. That came afterwards, but he did ask me to do extinct, or I did the cover of the book. The first book I did with him was the dodo on the front, and then all the other birds. He was looking into it to find which ones were extinct, which are gone, which are endangered, and then we gradually did. Oh, here's some
These are
here.
extinct boys.
Hmm?
These are boys. These are extinct.
These are extinct birds. That's a Tahiti sandpiper, a ghosted waver, or Huey Brewbest. That's him there. And that's a jailbird. It's 12 years old. And the cat wants to get it. Yes. And that's a lesser blotted bitwing. Yes. And there's a Colombian grebe. No longer exists. There was one left, apparently, when I started this book, that they found, but there's not anymore.
I don't know what that is. That's just
That's-
random. That's a random mixture.
Somebody can come up with a good name for that, and you're surprised.
Who's the fellow on the bottom?
What?
That
Something on the
fellow.
bottom.
Is that you?
Well, that could be, yes, could be. Yes. It's, that's quite nice, and it could be a nice bird, that. I mean, I don't think it looks aggressive, it just looks puzzled. But why should an obvious gentleman be sitting on his knees like that? Anyway, yeah. It's funny bringing these out. They weren't used in the books at all.
They were.
No, they weren't.
They were.
A couple of them were. I don't.
They were.
Do you know? I'd have to look at my own books. The problem is, I do them and then that's it. It's done. I'd have to think of something else because I've done Leonardo da Vinci, The Last Supper. Oh, I've also did a song called "The Man Who Woke Up in the Dark," and Leonardo da Vinci was described by Sigmund Freud as the man who woke up in the dark. So that became a song. I did a book on Sigmund Freud, and then I did a book on Leonardo da Vinci, and then I did a book on God. God's called the Big I Am. And
You're interested in the little people.
in the what?
The little people.
The will of people.
The little people. The little people.
Oh, sorry. I always have good. Yeah.
Gulliver's Travels. Well, this is Leonardo.
Oh, that's Leonardo, yes. Yes.
I like all the notes on the back. You see the notes on the back.
That's where I put my captions. Yes. Yeah. Get the hell out. I think it's working. Yeah. It's called Flight of the Butterfly. Yeah.
So I
like that.
understand you built a flying machine.
Yeah, yes, I did. And I tried to fly it.
How did that go?
And, luckily, I let go of it, and it did a stall like that, and then fell into a washing line. Otherwise, I think if I'd gone with it, I don't know whether I'd be talking to you now, or I could have been talking to you, but all in a hell of a mess, you know. Not that I'm not in a hell of a mess. It's just that I like that whole idea. I built a flying machine out of some old tent material, tent nylon, and bamboo, and I flew it off the roof, and it did that. But then I tried it down a lower lawn, and it actually flew like that, flat, which is quite interesting. But I still wasn't keen to try it, you know. It's not my hang on now to do it that way. Although I've done it in the book of Leonardo, trying his flying, as he tried to walk on water as well. That was another thing I tried.
How'd that go?
With bag, that's bags. You can do that if you can balance. You can. It's balancing is a problem. It's easy to do. It's easy. It's a fact. It's a scientific fact. It's easy enough.
So Ralph,
And that was the other thing. I'm trying to think what else have
Well,
tried.
You
I've got the Last Supper on the bedroom wall upstairs, and I painted that exactly 1/3 full size. And even put on the bottom part, which was the French troops knocking a hole through the wall where the painting was that Leonardo had done in the Santa Maria delle Grazie in Milan. And the bloody French soldiers came, they just wanted to ride their horses, so they knocked a hole through the bottom part of it and, as it were, went under the table.
That's the walking water one.
Oh, that's the walking
Sorry, it takes
water
me a
one.
while to find stuff sometimes.
Yes, there we are. That's how it was. You see, those bags you can. So I know what you're going to do. You're going to all go home and try this.
You betcha.
You can see how excited you are about this sort of thing. And but you want to find a nice landscape to do it in, you know.
So Ralph,
Water should be a bit decent if you can, in case you fall, you know. And swim, you can swim as long as you can swim. You should try it. But there we are.
Ralph,
So some of the early Leonardos, it was quite fun doing that book. Then doing a book about God was a peculiar one. It's strange. It's not that I'm sort of not giving him the benefit of the doubt, if you know what I mean. I find it. I just thought a book about him would be quite interesting.
I didn't know that God had a wife.
Oh yes, but she died. So he went on, you know, giving it all this weather and everything. We've got nothing to do with that. It's God's fault that. We have nothing at all to do with the global warming. That is, all of that is a God thing. Because God comes down to earth to have a look around in my book. And then he eventually gets so fed up with what he's seeing that he decides to climb back up to heaven on the I'm trying to think of the name of the tower now. Anyway, it's all in the book, and it's called The Big I Am. And after that, I don't know, what did I decide to do after that? Oh, that was the animals. So it's trying to cover the world in some form, isn't it? Try to do it my own way. There is Leonardo.
That's not it's the God book. It's the Alchemist.
Oh, that's the Alchemist from the God book. But it could be Leonardo too. Well, I'm glad you're getting these out. These are fun. This one's nice. It's that way. This was before human beings. Well, the landscape of prehistoric animals.
Oops, upside down again.
Oh, that's a sort of holy man. Yes. I like these. These are nice.
That's upside down again.
Oh yes. This is when it was hell on earth here.
Mm.
And lots of people, but they're fighting. Now we don't fight these days, do we?
No, we gave that up.
We gave that up, yeah. It's pointless. And this was the world as a baby. I love these things. They're nice. I mean, I like to be able to say I love these things, even though I've done them myself. That's not the point. I'm liking them because I've obviously put a lot of effort into them.
You have.
And they're kind of nice. I like them. And I'm finding that Sadie, my daughter here, bless her heart, has is finding the very things I'm trying to show you. Have we got anything else that's of any?
Is there anything anybody wants to see that I could pull out of the drawer?
Oh, yes.
How about some of the Alice drawings?
Test me.
Some of the Alice drawings.
Oh, no, forget.
What? See what? Oh, Alice. Oh, yeah.
How did you get that? How did you come to illustrate the Alice books?
Here's an Alice drawing. She had long hair, and that's her there. And I love. Oh, by the way, I learned technical drawing at East Ham Technical College, and also Wrexham.
That's how you did her hair.
That's how I do the hair. There it is. You know, you put that. It's a ruler.
Yeah.
Flexible ruler, and that's used, and I use that to do this picture. Just so that's geometry again. And here's the white rabbit. No, that's not the white rabbit. That's the Mad March hare. And that's Humpty Dumpty. And here is Alice on a chessboard. And she's talking with a grasshopper. And
Let's see a wasp.
and I can't remember why I did the numbers, but I think I treated the drawing a bit like a do-it-yourself painting by numbers type of drawing.
Why did you do those? Why did you do those in black and white?
Yes, it was nice to do it in black and white. Alice really was more to do with the actuality of the figures. You know, it had to be done. Somehow black and white seemed like a proper signature of what I was trying to do, you know, not the actual prettying it up with colour.
Mm-hmm.
I never even saw Alice in colour at all in my mind. And I did a book on Sigmund Freud. But I don't know whether have we got anything.
She's on.
We got some Sigmund Freud. If you want to see a little Sigmund Freud.
Sure.
Because I went to Vienna, to the 9th district, to his house, and I lay down downstairs. I went to where his consulting room had been, and the wallpaper was still on the wall in the consulting room. There was a sink in the room, and I lay down. I asked where his room had been, and it was you know, in a certain place in the room. So I lay down on the floor and took photographs of what it would look like to be on Sigmund Freud's consulting couch, and see what it, you know, what I would see, so I could draw it when I got back home. And that was an interesting exercise. And this was Freud going to the barbers in Vienna. a kind of consulting chair of the barber. Do you remember those tills we used to have?
Sure.
Oh, here's some more here. These are lovely. I think those are really worth seeing. That's Jung and that's Freud. And this was in
Whilst in New York, it says. Whilst in New
yes,
York.
he went and bought a new hat in New York. He went with who was it?
Jung and
Jung.
Ferenczi.
Frenzy, yeah.
Ferenczi, something.
No, Jung and Ferenczi. Yeah, that was a doctor. The Jewish section of Lower East Side. That's where it was. And that's a picture to express the anguish in the mind of one of his patients who'd be lying on this settee here. And Freud would be sitting there listening to all this, whatever, gobbledygook, whatever it would be. And that was I found this, there's the wallpaper that was actually on the wall that was there from 1930s. So it's kind of an interesting book. And to think I could have been a simple brain surgeon. Is that Freud? Freud listening to a joke told him by a colleague who has just learned of Freud's intention to publish a paper on the subject. There we are. Oh dear. Are
there any questions from?
Yeah, do you guys in the
to
audience
say?
have questions?
Is there any other figures that we haven't done a book on, by the way, that we ought to?
We have a couple of questions right behind you. Turn around.
Right behind. Oh, thanks. Hello, Mr. Steadman. My name's Tim. It's an honor to meet you. And I'm actually with my wife, Robin. She's going to see your artwork for the first time. My all-time favorite artwork of yours is from Fear and Loathing in Las Vegas, and I became a fan after I bought the book. Is there a piece that you yourself you're the most proud of, or one that you consider to be like this is kind of the culmination of my work?
It would. I think. Let me see. It would be a drawing of the sheriffs from Aspen that I did. The one, you know, and I did the sheriff. All the sheriffs are wanted, and they were because they were a real mean-minded bunch. And I have a photograph of them all sitting there, and they were rather unpleasant people. But the loveliest one was Bob Browdis. He was a sheriff when Hunter was around there. And they were real great pals, you know. By the way, the bullet hole is still through the cookhood at Owl Farm that Hunter did that, and it went through the cookhood. And it's still there somewhere. But we went back there last year, and late last year, and I had to give a talk there because it was a few years after I'd been there. And it was an interesting thing to do. But he was a man, it was a strange kind of, well, here we are, good Lord. There's Bob Browdis, the Sheriff of Aspen, 2009. A needed portrait of Sheriff Bob Browdis of Aspen, 2009. Wow. So that's that. And he had to have an operation eventually, but saw him last year.
I saw him at Christmas. I saw him at Christmas.
You saw him at Christmas. Wow. There we go. That was nice.
Any other questions?
Questions?
Good day today. Oh, so I was thinking of all the years you observed the presidency, what is the best act that the president's done that you've seen?
So I didn't quite catch that.
Okay, so of all the years you observed the presidency, what is the best act? What is the best act that you've seen the president complete?
What's the best act you've seen a president do? Like what's the best?
The best thing. Well, I think Obama has been the best president you've had, and so far I think he's a really amazing man, and I wish he could be president. I wish they could be president again. And I mean, apparently you can't be, can you? You can have 2 terms and that's it.
That's right.
Whereas we can have prime ministers that can hang on for ages, you know.
Did you ever draw President Obama?
Yes,
It's on its way.
but I haven't got it here at the moment.
Sadie's getting it.
She's getting it, is she? Oh, I think Sadie is going to get it. If she can find it. It might be terrible. God.
She likes to be tested.
Yeah, well, it's a wonderful thing. I'm trying to think what else was there.
We have another question.
Yes? Question?
There's so,
couldn't. Thank God. Oh, they couldn't find it. It is a shame.
okay, I'll jump in with a question then. All the portraits have so much energy and a lot of humor and a lot of anger maybe, but you have some landscapes in the show here, some wineries that are just so peaceful. And when you do those, are you restful, or is your brain bubbling along like it is with these others?
Now that you've said it, could you repeat it? 'Cause
What do you feel when you do those lovely landscapes? Those
when you do a landscape, yes.
those
How do I
peaceful
feel?
wineries.
You mean if I do a lovely landscape,
Yeah. Do you like
or if
those
I
as
do
well as
a
these?
landscape?
Do you like those as well
a
as?
dramatic landscape.
Oh.
Do you like doing those? What's it like to do those? They're different from a lot of your other work.
Oh, I think it's a nice thing to do, rather than just. Somebody said to me, "Oh, but you're not an artist. You're only a cartoonist." So I thought, "Oh, blimey, that's not fair." Here's one of my whiskey drawings done in Glenlivet Distillery, Bullindala, Speyside. I like landscape. It's kind of it's an expression of something. And sometimes I'm just trying to think what would have been nice. I did other things that were machines. I've done something. By the way, there's this here. You may see it. Can you see this sort of pillar here?
Yes.
Ah, right. Well, that's got a pigeon on the top of it. And that's my sculpture of a pigeon post. Here's another one.
The machine.
This is a machine, and it's a spirit safe. And there's some Scotsmen in the safe. They're distilling along with the whiskey.
So we have another question here.
Aha, yes.
Hi, I'm interested in your working habits. Do you draw every day? Do you draw several days a week? And how often are you, when you go to the studio, do you know what you'll work on when you go in, or do you decide after you get there?
I more or less decide when I come here, and sometimes I go to my office first down that part of the studio and put the computer on, see if there's any emails, and that sometimes starts something, or it discourages me if it's from somebody that's saying something unpleasant. It occasionally happens.
Sometimes I tell you what to do.
What?
Sometimes I tell you what to do.
Yes, that's. Sadie often gives me an idea that I have to go and do. And I think that's probably how this works. I wish I could. I mean, I found out this one. I wonder what I would do to do it. What have you heard of the word prorogation?
Yes.
Because of our Parliament was prorogated, And I'm trying to think, what would one do as a drawing of someone that prorogates? It sounds rather rude, actually. No prorogating in here. Yes. There's I'm just trying to think. No, I haven't. You see, these are I'm going to show it to you now. God, it's here.
Oh, Sadie.
It's this. The map. It's a big old book, and it's a big old book, and it's full of things that I haven't written in it for ages. But Aurelia Ziboldi, this is a poor man's Monstera Deliciosa, has let me down again. The last leaf dropped off silently this morning, leaving an empty stick of a thing in the soil. But now it's a big bush again. Things like that happen. The mouse with the clockwork nose. That was something I thought might make an interesting book. Unbeknown to his trousers, the nose of the mouse had ideas of its own. The nose of the mouse had decided to travel up the mouse and its silly face because the clockwork nose felt that it was hanging about on the tip of nowhere. So I thought that might make a children's book. So that's that.
So is that your ideas book?
Well, it is. There's some in here that go back. Gold bond, ink, price $1. Bruce Springsteen and the E Street Band. He was on our television last night. A day without a bottle of whiskey, 8 pints of beer, and a boiled egg is a day without sunshine. I have my principles. If you don't like those, I have others. Some of them are quite funny, but some of them are not. No. Yes. Create and be damned. The phone number before telephones were invented. Memory lane, things that people still want to see. I don't even look, I blame. The irate wine guides me on. The spirit broken, spoilt, I guess. Pay familiar, habitual waves of leftover bits, gathered storms waiting for the rainy season. I'll come all right moments before impact. A huge frog galumphs like an old bull. Will enter the village, stamp on the valley floor, dismantling an answer to nothing in particular. That's an odd poem. Do any of you like poems?
If they're by you.
Here's one.
Uh-oh.
Fart once if you are for the flatulent. Fart twice if you are. All right. Ladies and gents, the Bum Bums, group name. an idea for something there. I am one of who loves you best. I am the one who makes your nest. Oh, that's not nice. The bumper book of culpable crime by Hunter S. Thompson. I thought of that in August 2000. This new century needs a new heart. Heart, who are you? Let it sing. Oh, God. Yes. Staggers and falls, he gets out of the pub, gets up and goes back to the bar, looks around at everybody, pauses, says, watch this, then does an even more bizarre stumble. Oh, God. A line of thought, a subconscious reason, why? Where does it come from? Better not ask, eh?
Any more questions? Any final questions?
Last question from the audience? One second.
There might be one more question.
Yes, all right.
Hello?
I'm just off to the studio.
Hello?
Oh, I'm just off to, there we go, like that. I'm just off to the studio to emancipate my afternoon activities. That's being a posh gentleman, like an English gentleman.
I have a question.
I don't know. There are loads in there, but sorry I can't find them like that. I wasn't expecting to do that.
I have a question.
You've all got to learn to do this, by the way. Can you do that? It's not this. It's not that, no, it's the other way, it's that way.
Opposite directions.
Opposite directions, yes.
Mr. Steadman?
Any good?
Can you take one more question?
Hello?
Yeah,
one more
another
question.
Okay, quick question. Was there anyone that inspired you artistically?
Yeah, yes, Leonardo da Vinci, André Francois, a French cartoonist, Steinberg, there's another, George Grosz, German satirist,
Picasso.
and Kafka.
Picasso.
What?
Picasso.
Picasso, of course. Don't forget Picasso. And Marcel Duchamp. I think he actually amazing. He was so interesting. I liked him a lot. And I did make a few odd Duchampian things, you know, that he was inventing. I don't think we can find any of those. What?
We don't know where they are.
Oh, something like, no, from that picture there, who that is. The person in the cup. That's an interesting one. And in fact, he was on last night too. You see the one, that there.
Howard Hughes.
Howard Hughes, good. And there's, what's his name, Wells.
Yes. Orson.
And this is, he was on, last night, he was on Raging Bull. What's his name?
De Niro?
De Niro, yeah. I mean, that's what I was doing. That's just a whole thing made up of collage. I like collage, by the way. That's something that's really interesting. Using Victorian engraving, making something, you know, for no good reason. But it's the way it goes. I do it. I try to do something every day that makes me think. And it's better if you make a mark on a page and leave it to do something, and then the thought processes sort of work. And I thought 50 years, 60 years ago, I wanted to learn to be a cartoonist because I wanted to change the world. And 60 years later, I've succeeded. It's worse now than it was when I started.
Thank you, Ralph, so much for taking the time to talk to us today and showing us around the studio.
Pleasure. I
Thank
hope
you,
you
Sadie.
liked some of it, you know. Bless your heart. Bless your heart. Lovely people. Bye-bye. Bye.
Bye.
Are we waving? Yeah.